Hey, Brett Waller here. I'm going to give you an in-depth look at my Lego Batcave. This video is taken forever because I keep running into technical issues. Anything from just sticking my finger across the microphone of my phone while I'm trying to record dialogue, to flickering from fluorescent lights coming through on the video, to just I cannot export the video that I edit together in on my computer without getting weird artifacts and juddering. So I'm literally just recording my desktop here, and it's going to be a bit sloppier and messier this video. I'm just going to bring up videos and photos and stuff as I went creating this Batcave and just narrate over the top. So you have to excuse any mispronunciations and stuttering and pauses, and I'll just get started. So to give you an idea how big this is a video I took last weekend at the last public showing of the Batcave at the Brisbricks Lego Expo in Brisbane at Chandler for 2018. So I'm 6'4", and this thing, if I just skip forward here we go, it's going to do it anyway. This thing's probably about 6'6", 6'7", maybe 200 centimeters compared to me. So it's fairly large. I think it's the largest in the world. I'm cautiously making that claim. So if someone wants to correct me, or I'm sure someone's going to build a bigger one at some point. So that gives you an idea of the scale of this thing. I can only guess it's got about 50 to 100,000 pieces. I've got no idea, to be honest, because I didn't count as I went. I just built and forgot about it. So that's my estimate. It breaks up into about 20 larger chunks for transport. Let me just find you a video here of me breaking it down at the Strathpine show in July this year, 2018. So it doesn't take too long, maybe 20 minutes to half an hour to break down, but it takes about 7 hours to set up, because I have to put all the pieces back together, wire up all the lights, which are just LED strips that I've wired in, hook all those up, wire them up, put little characters everywhere, put little bats hanging everywhere, and just put a little final touches on everything, and just fix the repair that happens from damage during transport. So one of the reasons it's retired is I'm just sick of it. I've taken it to 3 shows now, and I'd like to move on and just build something new. And just bringing it back from the Chandler Expo this past weekend was a fair amount of damage that I could repair if I really wanted to, but I don't want to. So it's had its day and it's done. So if we get stuck into it now, I'll go over a bit of the history of the Batcave and where it started. So my initial idea was to make. I actually worked on the Lego Batman movie. I did some of the vehicles that are featured in the background scenes of the Batcave scenes. So there's like the Burton Batmobile, the animated series Batmobile. I did the Bat Tank from the Dark Knight Returns comic, which is seen in there, along with a heap of other Batmobiles that are seen in those scenes. So let me just find a few here. So my idea was I'd already created these for the movie. I worked on it for about a month or so, just contract work. And then I had no idea what the actual storyline of the movie was. I just purely worked on these vehicles for them, handed them off, and just that was it. But I'm a huge Batman fan myself, so I'd always wanted to create the Burton Batmobile in particular. So once I created it digitally for the movie, I really wanted to create it physically. So my idea was I create it physically, which I did. And then I also created the Batwing from the 89 Tim Burton movie. And then I'd build a Batcave that was sort of kind of inspired by that Batcave in that movie, which I've got some pictures here. It's kind of got these large rock platforms, and it's very vertical. And on each of these platforms, like we've got the Batmobile over here on the left, and then I was thinking maybe I'd feature the Batwings kind of mounted somewhere in the scene. And so it was a very realistic, somewhat faithful attempt I was going to create for this movie. For this display. But then in between my creating this and the Lego movie actually coming out, I saw how they'd taken that kind of Lego movie mentality to it. So everything was over the top and everything was a bit crazy. Everything was sort of through the mind of a child almost. So with that in mind, I thought, okay, I'll take my initial idea of doing a very vertical Batcave and move that into a sort of a Burton-esque vertical structure. So I started with a mock-up image, which I did in Photoshop, which I'm not a very good drawer, but the idea was down the bottom here, would be a carousel of vehicles, like the one that's featured in the Lego Batman movie, but just a single story instead of multiple stories. There'd be like a central column coming up the middle with a bat computer sitting on it, and in behind we'd have all these arches, and then we'd have sort of waterfalls spilling down. Up here we'd have like an opening that was in the shape of a bat symbol with the bat costumes going past, and then we'd have like a little armory here, some little platforms connecting the two, and another platform up here on the left where the Batmobile might be, and right at the back I'd put a massive bat wing mounted on the wall that would sort of draw your eye up and be a really cool feature piece. So obviously a lot of things changed when it actually came to making the Batcave for real. For one in particular, I ditched the idea of creating the waterfalls. I just found that I'd already used up a lot of the parts creating the waterfalls at the very bottom because I worked from the bottom up, and I found it difficult because it is a modular build. I had to split it up into about 20 pieces. Trying to connect the waterfalls between them proved a bit of a challenge, so I kept the water purely at the bottom level. I've actually got a few photos here of the progression of the build. Where are we? So this is one of the earlier things I did, was just the bat carousel with the bat symbol shape with the characters moving past. This took a lot longer than I'd hoped to actually get running smoothly because I'm not very clued up on Technic and motors. So it took me quite a few attempts to actually get that motor running smoothly. It's like some Technic tank treads mounted vertically and running on a motor. So if I go all the way back to when I started working on it, this is where I started with the bat carousel. I've got a motorized Lazy Susan down the bottom, and then I've got this sort of central column behind it with some lights, some LED lights in there, and some LED lights sort of spilling down. This is an earlier attempt where the supporting structure of the roof is fairly strong, but I ended up improving it multiple times because I couldn't put the central column in the middle. Actually doesn't hold any weight. It's purely there for visuals. If I put any weight coming down it from the top, the actual Lazy Susan here wouldn't turn. So I have this opening here that you'd look into and see the bat vehicles spinning around. And then I started building structure. You can see on the left there, I started building Ra's al Ghul's Lazarus Pit, and I started building a central column with the back where the back computer would stand, which I think, looking at this, is actually, I've made it smaller because it got too big, and I knew I wouldn't be able to do it with the amount of parts I've got, so I shortened it a little bit. And you can see the start of the curved sort of arches behind there where the water would flow out of. I've seen that one already. So this is where I started prototyping. I don't think I initially planned this idea of the opening forming the shape of the bat symbol, but this is where I was sort of photoshopping what it might look like. You can see the image is actually mirrored here. I've got the two tumblers on either side, but I kind of photoshopped the idea of what the bat symbol might look like. Then I start piecing it together, roughing it out. You can see the bat symbol taking form. The silhouette is more stronger when it's dark inside, but then you can't see the vehicles obviously, so I had to make that call and just suck it up. Just having some lighting options. I was trying to decide what color to go for the interior light on that pillar, and what I was going to use for the spill light on the actual vehicles themselves. This is one of the little vignettes down the side, which is I ended up banking Black Mask and Red Hood's little vignette of a warehouse scene. This is it coming together a bit more with a bit more of the rock structure and a bit more of the curved, what do you call it, sewerage coming out the back there, and the back computer up the top. Some of the platforms starting to take shape and the carousel starting to take form. Bit of a close-up look at the build for the Bat computer, which is obviously inspired by the Lego Batman movie one. I couldn't do anything on the scale they're doing because it would take up my entire Batcave as big as it is. I was quite happy with the little chair I did though, and I got the little bat phone there. This is some work in progress. Looks like some earlier images of it. This is where it started taking form even more. I think this is some Photoshop here of me roughing it out, so you can see I've roughed in where an archway might be, where I think the T-Rex might go, where the armory would be here on the left. And see, it's the whole thing starting to take form here. Obviously the bat wing mounted and lit up behind there. This is me actually starting to build it because the previous was photoshopped together. This is me actually starting to build, based on that Photoshop. And this is actually the first time I displayed it at the Brisbricks 2017 Expo. So this is where I've just set it up, and you can see it doesn't have the Wayne Manor on top. The Wayne Manor is not something I initially planned. It's something I did later. After I took it to this show, a lot of people suggested I should add it, and I'd never really considered or even thought about it, to be honest. But it's something I added later. These photos are all out of sync, so it's just a small work in progress and roughing out the right-hand side there where the little archways are. And this is some work in progress of the Wayne Manor. So this is, again, it's a bit out of sync here, but this is me prototyping one of the wings, how it might look. And this is me just messing around. This is an earlier photo, again, of some of the window ideas I was working on. And again, working on the towers, this is one of the early ones. I was going to go with a black rooftop, but parts that I had on hand were mostly blue, so I ended up going to blue, which I think helped anyway because it added a bit of color to the build. And you can see here this is a shorter version. I ended up going a lot taller just because it was lacking the height I felt it needed. And then once I'd built obviously that picture, I photoshopped again how the whole thing might look. So initially this idea was that the entire building would make the shape of the bat symbol, with the two wings making up either wing of the bat, and then two sort of central towers that would make up the ears. But I never really managed to get that pulled off, as you'll see later on in the full version. But you can see I've got the idea of the fountain down the middle, some trees, some hedges. And this is just prototyping ideas for the front steps and the central tower, which the whole Wayne Manor is actually inspired by a chateau in France. You can see the sort of inspiration there for the previous image I had open there. It's not exactly the same, obviously, but there's a lot of elements I took from this. Here's a better picture of it there. So let's just go back to the progress photos I was looking at. Sorry for the lack of speaking here, but okay, so that's that one. Oh, that's just a photo I took. These are so far out of sync, I don't know what's going on, but this is what all the individual pieces look like when they're not built together. And that was again last weekend. This is just some work in progress pictures as I'm going. It's a work in progress picture of the Scarecrow scene where Batman's parents are killed and Scarecrow's making him relive his worst nightmares. Numerous photos there of just different ideas of how busy I wanted it and how I was going to do the smoke, which I ended up paring back a lot. I took quite a lot of... this is another idea. I had an idea for a lot of smoke in there, but I pulled that way back because it didn't really look like smoke or clouds or gas. It just sort of looked like blobs. So I ended up pulling that back to a very simple idea. Let's flick through all these. This is a work in progress of Two Faces, little vignette, where half his room is to be on fire and half sort of a pristine upper class mansion. And this is actually the first placement of the Wayne Manor on top. This is the Batcave had already been built by this point, and this is like half a year later, and the first mounting, I guess, of the Wayne Manor on top. And that's what a lot of the structure looks like. You can see it's a bit messy and just moldy colors and all sorts of crazy stuff underneath. And just Wayne Manor sitting on the floor next to the Batcave. I don't have a lot of space to work with. I've got a single car garage that I've converted into a Lego room, which is shared with a dryer and storage and a lot of dust. There's the Wayne Manor just sitting on the floor after its completion. Bit of a close-up look of the graves for Bruce's parents. And this is before I actually put the tree in there. You can see I was mocking up ideas of where the tree would sit over the angel statue and blobs of vines going up the wall. You can see there I initially had purple flowers on the vines going up, but I ended up changing that to red to make them pop a bit more. And these trees here, I was tossing up between buying the Lego pine trees that are available from, I think it's sometime in the 80s, but they're like $25 a piece, and I thought I'd have a shot at building some myself, and I was quite happy with how these turned out. And plus I already had the part, so it was a hell of a lot cheaper. That's our Lego fountain there I made. I'm quite happy with that, using the, I think they're called Power Blast pieces or something, using for the water splash. I expect a lot of people are going to do that as well. They probably had the same idea. That's just an image of behind the Batcave, behind Wayne Manor, showing that it's mostly a facade. After I actually took this photo, I added sort of the basics of an interior inside, so when you look from the front, you don't see all the way through, and some lighting. Some more photos. So you can see I have the W for Wayne up in the window there. And one of the tricky parts about this build was, because that middle section is at 45 degrees, that entire length is at an odd number of studs. So it's symmetrical, but it's an odd number of studs. So I had to do things like mount this little section here in the middle of the peak of this roof to make it symmetrical. And then for the W, I had to make sure that was centered again, and the windows had to be centered and then off-centered, and that was a lot of fun. That was a taller version of those pine trees I was playing with, cypress trees. That's just another random, more bush-like tree I was trying, which never really worked out. Another tree type I tried. So that's what I do a lot. I end up building and then sort of try a few different variants and try to settle on one I'm happy with. Sometimes I might get it right the first time, but other times I'll try a few different things before I settle on a final one I'm happy with. There's Clayface in, checking the place out. It looks like I'm going backwards in these photos here. So you can see where the Wayne Manor actually splits up into three chunks for transport. So you got the two wings on either side, the central wing, the central tower, and the whole base, as well as one separate piece. So you can see the progress as I'm building and integrating the stairs. We've seen that picture already. And this is what I actually did early on too. I started building physically with the photos you've seen previously, and I found I was spending a lot of time like trying different window variants and styles until I was happy with it. And it just took a long time to build that, and then pull it back down again, and then try a different one, pull it apart again, try a different one. So I ended up just building digitally for that stuff to figure out how many pieces it would take, and to just expedite the process of design and prototyping, I guess. So this is where I did a lot of the Wayne Manor was done this way. Not much of, actually, I don't think any of the Batcave was, but Wayne Manor was almost completely done digitally first, and then sort of pieced together. There's just a prototype of the door I was putting together. So we're going backwards in the photos here. Some towers. Now we're all the way back to the start. So with all that out of the way, so the history of it, let me start showing you some close-up. Just give me a second. So this is not the first Batcave. While I'm clicking, I just found some more photos. This is not the first Batcave I've done. So a lot of the parts I've used in this came from my earlier Batcave I did, which was based on the Dark Knight Rises. And this is a lot smaller, obviously, but this is like the first big scale mock I did. I didn't design the Batmobile or the Batwing myself. So what's it called? The Bat. They're available online. If anyone's interested, I'll just make a comment and I'll send you a link to where you can get the instructions for those for free. But yeah, this is where like all my bats came from. A fair chunk of all the rock structure I've got, all the rock pieces I've got came from here. It's more of a serious take on the Batman cave, I guess, than what you're seeing in the new one. Sorry, I was getting distracted. Let me get back to showing you some videos of the Batcave. So let me just bring up one of these ones. So here we go, we've got the Wayne Manor on top. We'll work our way down, down, down. We've got the Batwing in the middle there. We've got the T-Rex and the penny on the left. Bat computer down the middle. We've got a bit of an invasion of villains there. And so you can come all the way down here, you can see the sort of the bat symbol shape in the middle. If we're getting close here, I think I might have some better footage of this actually. Let me just skip ahead here. Yeah, it's not much better. So you can see you got the 60s Batmobile, which came directly from the set. This is that same Batmobile you just saw in the Dark Knight Rises cave I did. Oh, sorry, my video is skipping all over the shop. Let me just go back to that. I've got some more footage here somewhere. As I said, this video is going to be messy, so what's this one? Some vignettes. It's the back computer. Let's pause that. I should go back to that while I'm getting distracted. So that's the back computer in the middle, obviously inspired by the Lego Batman movie one. You've got Alfred with his lobster thermidor, Batman in the middle, and the bat phone straight to Commissioner Gordon. And here we are again, but I think in this video we can go down and see a bit more of the cave. Here we go. So we got this is actually the very first thing, this tumbler here, that I designed when I came out of my dark ages about 10 years ago. Not this particular one, but I did a black version of this. When I got back into Lego about 10 years ago, I was playing the Lego Star Wars games. That gave me a lot of nostalgia and stuff for the old Lego from the 80s that I grew up with. And then someone suggested there's a Lego Digital Designer program available for download for free. So the first thing I did was download that, and I designed the tumbler from the it was Batman Begins. I don't think the Dark Knight was out by then. So I download that and designed the black one, and this is the one I painted. So I've got this down the bottom here with Bane on it. Let me just go back to the cave vehicles. Where are we? Here we go. There's the back computer again. So there's obviously the part of the ultimate tumbler from the Lego Batman movie. I couldn't actually fit the whole thing, and even that thing hangs in over the edge there a bit. This whole thing does rotate, but I've just stopped it in this particular video just so I can spin it around and get a closer look. This is the one on the right there is the animated series Batmobile that I designed for the Lego Batman movie. You can see in the background scenes of that on their big dual story carousel. And we've got the Bane tumbler again. There we go. That's the I don't know, Batman vs Superman one I'd call it. There's a lot of dust on that one. That's from the official set from the Batman vs Superman movie, but I've actually added a few bits and pieces to make it a bit more movie accurate, especially on the front there, around the front tires. I really should dust this stuff better before I film it. And there's my favorite. That's the Burton Batmobile I designed for Lego Batman movie. There are a few changes because in the Lego Batman movie I could use pieces that aren't readily available in the colors I need. So like the intakes here on the left here are different pieces than what I actually used, and there's been a few other changes throughout that I've had to make just because the pieces didn't exist. No, so this is the 60s. What's the 60s Batmobile from the set? That's that same one from previously, which the instructions are available online. So if anyone's interested, I can find the link for that. I think it's Buggy Irk off the top of my head who made that one, and it's really cool. It's better than the one I made when I first got into Lego. And this one is the I think it's called the Joker Lowrider set. It initially came in purple and it was a convertible, and I've sort of turned it into a batified Batman version just for something crazy to add to that one. Obviously it's an animated series one again. Let's pull back out. Obviously you can see the bat shape there. Little waterfalls on either side. And down here I've just got sort of an invasion of villains and bits and pieces going on. I think I'm just talking about the how that central pillar is not holding anything up there. It's all supported from the outside. Just skip forward a little bit. So we've got Batman and Batgirl there having a bit of a swim with Robin watching on. We got Scooby and Shaggy because they had a crossover in the 70s, and I think they may have had one recently for a new cartoon or something. And we've got Clayface on the side. We've got Aquaman down on the bottom right there. Some catwalks and stairs up on the right. There's Aquaman and the waterfall going down. And that's where all my water pieces went, all in this bottom section. That's the Clayface from the Lego Batman movie set. There's a little Batmite up on the left there, which is a custom one. We've got Wonder Woman there fighting some villains. An invasion of obscure Bat villains there. Wonder Woman, John Stewart Green Lantern, Killer Moth, I think his name is. I can't remember his name. And this obviously having a bit of a party in the water. You've got the water flowing down out of that back sort of sewerage area, and then it goes down the waterfalls on the right hand side and the left. Skipping Shaggy. You got LED lights in there of different types. Racer, Clock King, Calculator, Zodiac, King Tut, Polka Dot Man, Condiment King. I think it's Inferno. And obviously the swimsuit Joker. There's another Robin's Airs walked in on this party happening. We've got Batmite on the left, Batman's biggest fan. One thing I didn't get a space for really was I wanted to do a little vignette for Killer Croc, but I don't actually have a Killer Croc minifig, so I had to skip that one. One day I'll get one. Oh, there's a Green Arrow there as well. Some of these videos you're watching too will be taken from different places, so the minifigs may be in different positions in each video. I did move them around a little bit. And these little rock platforms, which is where the Tim Burton inspiration came from. Got armor in there with some kryptonite and Batgirl, all sorts of weapons. Lots of bats hanging down there. I would have liked to lit up that kryptonite somehow, but I couldn't figure it out. I've turned off the carousel for this video. There's an Earth 2 Batman there, which is a custom. There's a Rainbow Batman, which is a knockoff. There's the Police Batman, which I made from the Lego Batman movie scene. That's one of the official pieces, and I've just stuck the cowl and cape on it. There's a Damian Wayne Robinson in there. I think he's a bit jealous of all the suits. I don't know why I'm looking at these suits again, but here we are. Let's hope we can move on. We're going up into the trophy room, which is the animatronic T-Rex, Giant Penny. Iron Man's sucks, but he's jealous, so he's hanging out and checking out Batman's Batcave. Got a little invasion from another dimension there. Gremlin and Wicked Witch of the West and some flying monkeys. I would have liked to have done more with that, with some bombs and all sorts of stuff, but I kind of ran out of time and motivation. Obviously, there's my 89 Batwing, which I've taken the side built wing structure from someone else who's done one online. I'd like the idea of doing it that way, but I've taken my own take on it. We've got sort of a launch platform there with Martian Manhunter and Cyborg. Here we've got, whoop, there's the Bat computer still. We've got Robin in the Bat Lab, putting together some shark repellent or something by the look of it. Then we've got a little invasion by the Justice League here. This is where I kind of ran out of ideas a bit. I didn't know what to put there. So I've got Justice League invasion, and then we've got Bruce and Dick's Bat Poles. Here we got Jin and Jan, the Wonder Twins. Is that Black Bolt, Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, Plastic Man, and Firestorm, Shazam, Hawkman, Supergirl. And I don't know if I've got video of it, but I've got another video I recently took where I've got the new Ace the Bat Hound in the Batcave. Lots of bats hanging around. We've got Man Bat up there on the right. This is a little. I thought I was going to look at the vignettes there, but obviously not. Let's skip forward a bit here. See, we're talking about the Wayne Manor. So I'll get back to that. So we've got the Wayne Manor, which I've talked about the inspiration for that previously, and it was kind of had to be built in this L shape because it had to fit on top of the Batcave, and there wasn't much support underneath it to do much more. So that's why I've got a sort of fence. It makes no sense really, but there's a fence running around the outside just to kind of finish it off nicely, so it doesn't look weird going off to nothingness. So at the front door, we've got Commissioner Gordon, Barbara Gordon, confronting Bruce Wayne with a batarang that he's found. He thinks Bruce has got something to do with it. It's the waterfall up close, and those trees I was talking about earlier. A couple of cops lined up that have come with Commissioner Gordon. This guy's seen something though. It's Alfred hanging up the clothes, so I think they may be busted. And I've got the well there, which is from Batman lore. When Bruce is a kid, he falls down into the Batcave, and that's where he gets his fear of bats from. Some vines running up the building there. We got the Wayne family manor plot cemetery with Martha and Thomas's graves. Doctor Strange there, some roses. We've got a big sort of angel statue behind it. Sort of a weeping willow style tree, make it look a bit more moody and depressing. So you can see some of the closer details there on the building. So the spires and turrets. I got Deadpool in there because why the hell not? He seems like the kind of character. Oh, we've got the ghost of Bruce's parents up on the roof there, and some Lego bricks not pieced together properly. But Superman up top. Ezio, because it looks like the type of building he'd climb from Assassin's Creed. Some of the details there on the W and the front door. Got a W down there on the front doorstep as well. Predator in the 90s. I think it was the 90s. There was a Batman versus Predator comic. And in the windows, I wanted to put lights in there, so I figured I might as well put something in there as well. So I've got all the party variants from the Lego Batman movie set from the Joker Manor hiding in there. Most people don't see them, but for those that look, they're there. Same with the ghost of Bruce's parents. Oh, there's Egghead, just because he was the only other one with white costumes and I needed another one. That's Wayne Manor. So yeah, I was quite happy with how that worked out, considering it was sort of mostly made up. It's inspired by, a lot of things, but it's sort of my own creation. I was quite happy with that. I think the blue really helped make it pop a bit compared to the black I initially had. Let's just skip ahead here. So we start looking at little vignettes down the side. So this is like a Catwoman vignette, which I wasn't particularly happy with, but I've got sort of building facade there with Catwoman on the front, a few different Catwoman costumes inside, some cats on the balcony, Catman, and I'm not sure if I've got video of it, but I've since added Bruce and Dick from the 60s. So Bruce and Dick, Batman and Robin from the 60s set on a string running down the building like they used to climb down the ropes. This is my Batbot I made, which I just got bored of building the cave one day and decided to build a Batbot. So why the hell not? We've got the Penguin with his little army there, and a frozen Flash. And it should be Mr. Freeze in there behind them. There he is. That was one of the earlier vignettes I did, which isn't as same with this one, the Poison Ivy one. They're not quite as detailed as the later ones I did. Kind of wish I'd spent a bit more time on them. They're not quite as focused. They're a bit messy and haphazard. So let's move around the other side. Whoop. Where am I going here? All the way down the bottom. Whoop. Finger over the. So this is actually one of the early ones I did. I was quite happy with the Lazarus Pit with Ra's al Ghul and Damian Wayne and Talia al Ghul. I was actually pretty happy with how this one turned out. It's got this sort of Arabic architecture with the arches and the lighting. There's Black Mask and Red Hood having a bit of a weapons deal, I guess. We've got a pile of money and guns everywhere. I can't remember where I got that custom skull from, but I painted it black and stuck it on the body of one of the villains from Indiana Jones, and it worked out well for a Black Mask. And we've got some custom Brickforge guns there, and missiles and grenades. And we've got Jason Todd there, about to take him out. We move up to my Joker Harley vignette. We've got another Joker at the back there. Both of the Jokers here are custom ones that I make. I've got a custom business where I make custom minifigs. That's the mime Joker from the Burton Batman, and then the normal Joker at the front there. And obviously the Harleys from Lego Batman. So they're all custom pad printed like Lego use. I was quite happy with how it's not focusing terribly well, how the faces turned out on those ones. Got a big Joker face and funhouse theme there. And then we got the Riddler. That one's kind of based on the Jim Carrey sort of scenes towards the end of the movie where he's getting very flamboyant and dancing around in his big neon base, I guess you'd call it. A big question mark in the background. And Two-Face, quite happy with this one with the lighting of the fireplace behind and the fire on the right hand side. Half the building's on fire and half it's fine, like his personality. That was quite fun to make. And we have the crime alley scene where Scarecrow is using the fear gas to make Batman relive his greatest fears. Including, if you look on the bottom right, a few frames ago, you can see a box with Wild Style stuff, another one of his greatest fears. I would have liked to make the depth of this go a bit further so it felt more like an alleyway, but the trophy room was taking up a bit more space. I couldn't really allow it. So yeah, that's mostly all of the Batcave there. I've got other footage, but I think you've seen most of it already. I've got footage here of the costumes going around. You can see this is an earlier shot actually where I didn't have this mechanism running quite as well. You can see it's a bit stuttery, and you can see the later shots here. I've got it running quite smoothly. Most of these are all official ones. There's a couple of custom ones, like this is a custom cowl and cape, but I've used the Green Lantern body with the Batman head. That's a custom one I've made of the Bat one. This is another custom one I print, the Bat Gordon minifig in the comics where Commissioner Gordon becomes Batman. He's got his own costume, so that's another one I make. That's an official one. That's a custom one, a third-party one I've bought of Earth 2 Batman. That's the Dimensions one from memory. That's an official one. Another official one. The old Reggae Man. There's that Pirate Batman, I believe came in a book. And I don't know what you call that one. Fire Inferno Batman. Rock Batman. That's another I think that's a knockoff, but it was based on a custom, a Zebra Batman one. This is the NES Nintendo Batman. It's all purple. Boxing Batman. Don't know what that one is. Robot Batman. Rainbow Batman, which is another knockoff. Another knockoff there because I can't afford the real one of that one. That's the real one of the Dark Knight Returns. What do you call that one? Kilted Batman. Rich Batman. That's the Nightwing one. Wizard Batman. Electro Batman. Disco Batman. I don't know what you call that one. Desert Camo Batman or something. Night Out Batman. Space Batman. Clown Batman. It's another custom one I made for myself. It was just painted a Wolverine cowl black and made the first appearance Batman with the purple hands and painted the legs. That's another custom one, which is not very cheap from memory. It's a Two-Face Batman. Is that the Dark Knight? Sorry, the Batman vs Superman one? I can't remember. Kiss Kiss Batman, Roman Batman, Caveman Batman, and then we're back to the start. Bunny Batman. So yeah, that's all of it. That's been a very long video. I hope you've enjoyed it. As I said, I tried multiple times to try and get you a better quality video of this with better dialogue and stuff, but this is how it turned out. I hope you liked it. If you want to see those cars in more depth, or I've been tempted to do a video of just going through some of the builds I made for the Lego Batman movie. There's a ton I made, and there's a ton that weren't used. So if anyone's interested in those, let me know. Including I did a massive Lego Batman aircraft carrier. So it was like the Bat aircraft carrier, which if it was a real set, it would have been massive. But it was pretty cool. It's one of my favorite things to do because it came together really quickly and it just looks absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed my ramblings for the last who knows how long I've been talking right now, but I'll leave you be. 40 minutes by the look of it. So I'm going to leave you to it, and see you next time.